Yeah, I had to like obviously kick off this Friday with a little bit of Haitian compa. As you all know, I'm Haitian, so definitely puts me in the right mood. But anyway, guys, hi. Welcome back. I'm so excited to do another weekly Ask Me Anything session. Right here at same time, same place every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern. I come on and spend an hour just to ask as many questions as I can from the community. So definitely I'm going to be monitoring the chat feed for any live questions that's coming in. Always, as always ask, just let me know where you're coming in from. Would love to hear any updates, any quick questions that you have. And I'll start obviously with the questions from the community that was sent in and take it from there. I also will start by this week, obviously, we had a major announcement that took place, last week that we shared with the community. One, I am off maternity leave, so I'm back. As many of you know, I just had a baby boy, so awesome being a mommy again for the third time. So two beautiful daughters, and of course, my beautiful baby boy. So I'm happy to be back in the mix and, back on the grind and enjoying being a tech entrepreneur on full throttle. So really happy to be back. Second, last week, if many of you are aware, we announced that Global Startup Ecosystem, I am now the CEO of this amazing organization. And so I'm taking us to a unique direction and focusing on future of work. Many of you have been a part of the GSC family and know all the work that we do in so many countries around the world. And I'm so excited to be supporting like dozens of organizations really help train the next generation of the future. So I'm so pumped to be doing this. And so really exciting times. Surprising enough, we also received an award where we actually was featured on VentureBeat last week as well. A lot of crazy announcements as one of the top growing companies in New York. Number 91 out of thousands of companies that has been growing exponentially for the past year, and Global Startup Ecosystem was listed on that list. So I'm hella excited to see all the crazy developments that's happening. And of course, probably the ultimate craziest announcement that came out last week is that GSC is opening up for investment. As many of you know, I am a diehard entrepreneur. I've built and scaled multiple businesses in the past. You guys know I love the art of building solutions that matter to the communities that matter to me most. And it has been a unique journey over the past, 2.5 years, building and scaling this organization in so many different markets around the world, doing some amazing things, building tech summits in places like Haiti to Nigeria and Ghana and back to really becoming a sustainable, amazing company that is scaling rapidly, especially during the pandemic. Our numbers went through the roof. And so with that said, we're doing a seed round at GSC. We're opening up for investment. And part of that seed round, we're opening it to our community, to the public. So I'll tell you more about that. If you have specific questions that you want to ask about the platform and what we're trying to do. But yeah, I'm just really excited to be back and to be back with so much activity. But with that said, let's start answering your questions. And of course, I'm starting to see the patterns. I've accepted it. You guys have, put me into this, I guess, expertise funnel around productivity, entrepreneurship, personal branding, family planning, balance. So I'll take them as they come. So I'll start with some of the top questions I saw around career development. So there was a question that came in about, how was I able to strategically build out my career roadmap? What advice do I have for individuals trying to plan out their career during a pandemic? Love this question. I think probably the most important thing I will say when it comes to answering questions around career development is really around, are you assessing yourself? I know for a fact, I do a lot of looking through my previous school notes, going through anything that I've done in the past couple of weeks. I look at what am I spending my most time on? What am I watching on TV? What, social media articles am I clicking through? That tells you a lot more about your passion set and what you're really good at than any other component coming from family and friends. So I always take a self-assessment. One thing I always say in the past is that, a lot of times we're moving so quickly that we don't take the time to take self-assessments of ourselves. And sometimes it could be just what did I do in the past 7 days, right? And you'll see where your passion points and interests lie to see, okay, strategically, what do you want to do? The second thing is, I think people are not really good at telling narratives around the career trajectory. I think we get so much caught up into saying, okay, these are the top skill sets that I have, but don't tell the narrative around how did you acquire that skill set? Why did you acquire that skill set? So I'll give you a perfect example. I could tell you hands-on. If you go on my LinkedIn page, you can see all the endorsements. People see me as really good with strategy, entrepreneurship, sales, business development, right? So I could just, focus my resume on the skill set. But when it comes to framing the narrative, I could just very clearly tell people, first off, I really had a passion for financial markets. So I went straight into the banking sector, but realized that, I had an entrepreneurial spirit. So I learned as much as possible in the financial sector, got into startups and tech by supporting tech ecosystem building efforts with community channels in Dubai. Did that for a year or two, got really familiar with building ecosystem from scratch, started my own business, and then pretty much, learned the skill set. I think many of you know I know how to code. Maybe I have digital marketing skills. Some of you might be shocked. I'm actually also a videographer as well. Like I learned all these unique entrepreneurial skills to build and scale my company. And in fact, it helped me actually hire the right people for the roles that I needed at my company as well. So it's a very unique twist in learning a skill set for yourself, but also how leveraging that to find the right team players that you need to work with over time. And that's me framing the narrative around learning these skill sets, why I learned them, why they were such crucial elements in my personal development, but also providing a really great opportunity for me to build and scale my company. So to answer that question directly, I think, we need to redefine what we mean by career strategy and roadmap building in general, and really think about, why did you do the things that you do? Why did you learn the things that you learned? And why are you still on a path that you're on? Is it because you're passionate about this path, or is it because you feel like, oh, this is the path that people told me to be on, so that's why I'm on it? You need to ask yourself those questions and plan accordingly. You'll be shocked to see like all the things that you'll learn about yourself, but also the opportunities that are available to you to through that process. So definitely wanted to make sure I answered that question. A second question I got that I thought was really cool was around like, how did I build and scale a company from scratch? Did I actually leverage resources? Did I fundraise? Where do I get capital to fundraise my company? So I think this is a question that every entrepreneur is going to have to answer at one point or another. And one thing I will say is it's a combination of, at least in my book, actually monetizing the business. I love business model framing, like figuring out what's the best way to monetize a brand, a business, a project, an initiative, our concept, so it's sustainable, because I definitely don't believe in just going out there and not figuring out certain things. I do think that when you do something for your community, the ability to monetize that initiative or that impact, what you're trying to do, will come over time if you really figure out pain points first, solutions after. Because I think a lot of times people think like, what this this company needs, or what this country needs, this is a solution, and don't think through, well, do they really need that, right? And so thinking about pain points first, and then figure out solutions, and then you'll start to see all the different ways to monetize whatever product or service or solution that you create for that pain point. So wanted to answer that, and the fact that for me, it was a combination of monetizing my business, so figuring out a great way to monetize our revenue channels. Second, I'm really good at pitching, obviously, pitching investors, pitching partners to join our platform. Another thing that I think is a big secret sauce that no more entrepreneurs need to know about is bartering. Learning how to ask people for services that for you is a big cost item, but for that person, it's nothing. And I said this before, that when I first started my company, I was doing things like where I would reach out to law firms and like, hey, like, we work together on many different projects. Can I be able to use an office space that you have vacant for 6 months to a year? right? And they're like, yeah, sure, it's empty anyway, why not, right? So now I have a 1-year office space to build and scale with my company, and that is literally 6 figures of cost off my books for the first year. And you can imagine how professional it comes off for me to have clients come meet me at my office space to do that. That's something that I did before. Now, of course, that's one of our most huge, biggest expenses as an entity, which is payroll and office expense. But you can imagine in the beginning when we first get started and focusing on the product, that's something that we checklist and took off right away. So I think that's really, really unique to like really think creatively around bartering. And as entrepreneurs, your job is not only building and scaling a product, but it's also being a spokesperson to galvanize people to support your resources, capital, and whatever you need to make that product successful, right? And so that's something I would say that I did really well in the beginning, learning the art of asking. And I don't think that we do enough training around teaching people how to ask well, to be able to get from point A to point B, then from point B to C, and then C all the way to Z, right? So that's something when people ask me how I was able to monetize my business, those 3 things: learn the business model, frameworks, like how to actually make a business model that's sustainable. Second, really learning how to pitch for investment and partnership support. Third, learn the art of asking, which is pretty much learning the art of bartering for services and impact. I think that's something that really resonated with me. Third, I did get a lot of questions about the capital raise. Like, what does that mean? What are we doing? Why are we doing it? So let me take a step back, because I do think that people don't understand. There is a whole new way, ladies and gentlemen, for entrepreneurs, especially diverse entrepreneurs like myself, female entrepreneurs who are consistently marginalized when it comes to capital raising in the VC space, to raise capital. If you want to find out how to raise capital, I will definitely have a longer session probably after when I'm done with my capital raise and tell you all the things I've learned, the things I've been through over the past couple of months and trying to understand this ecosystem. But pretty much, I'm sure everyone knows about crowdfunding. It's a way to like pretty much put an initiative or something that's out there that matters to you, to the public, and people donate money to that cause, and it speaks to them. Crowd equity raising is a little bit different in the fact that people now have the opportunity to not give money, but invest capital. And literally it's a crowd opportunity, because now instead of just going to select accredited investors or institutions just to capital raise, you are now able to go to the public and get that capital very, very quickly. And so for us, we have a huge community at GSC. As a matter of fact, when we announced the capital raise that, we're doing a seed round and we're working with strategic investors, both institutional and angel investors accredited that we're working with GSC, and we're giving a portion of that seed round to the public through this capital raise, I was actually shocked. And one thing I will say, and I don't want to get emotional, but I actually was very, very grateful to see the hundreds of reservations that people made to invest in GSC. I mean, that to me said a lot. And so for anyone who's watching right now, if you're one of the members who actually RSVP to invest in GSC for our launch raise next week, means a lot. I'm actually having a lot of one-on-ones with individuals who RSVP. I'm trying to get through as many as I can with the team. It was a lot. And for me, like that really said volumes in terms of the work that we done and like the value that people saw in the community, that with one email blast, we say, hey, we're opening it up around. If you're interested, sign up here. And people just actively say, this is the amounts I want to reserve. These, I'm talking about $10,000 checks, $5,000 checks, $20,000 checks, all the way down to $250 checks that people just say that they want to throw at this campaign and see GSC continue to scale. Touch my heart. And so I'm definitely going to have probably another session about how you could go to your community to fundraise. And I think that's probably, I would say, the future of entrepreneurship is community centric, that you're no longer becoming transactional with your consumer base, but more community centric with your consumer base. And I think I didn't realize that I knew that head on, but people have seen me in person, the passion that I exude when it comes to talking about the markets that I serve. Like, I don't play games. Like I mean, GSC was founded on my frustration on us trying to make a difference in emerging market communities like Haiti, Ghana, Nigeria, and really building tech hubs around the world. And people could resonate with that sentiment and resonate with someone who is truly targeted on a problem set and want to find a solution to it. And throughout that whole journey of us building, the global startup ecosystem, which is GSC, we built a community around that cause. Like literally, like join us not just to attend a program, not just to be a part of our, product, but actually be an ambassador to what we do. And I'm so proud to have seen that ahead of time, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs are still a little bit transactional, and I can't really blame entrepreneurs. I mean, I think the art of business is trying to build revenue and traction over time. I pray I never get to the point where as I scale that I lose sight of my heart and lose sight of the real purpose that I feel like businesses serve, is really to not only solve a problem and provide a valuable solution, but also shed a light on something that we need to radically change, right? And yes, you've monetized the solution to make it sustainable, but putting something out there in this world that's going to change something that you believe is fundamentally wrong, right? And I think with GSC, people realize that what I found to be fundamentally wrong was several things. One, I'm tired of shit of people not seeing value in emerging market tech hubs like Haiti, Nigeria, Ghana, Egypt, Ethiopia, Dubai. I feel like innovation can happen anywhere, and we need to value the talent and the communities that come from these markets. I was tired as hell, so I started launching these tech summits, and people from around the world and locally, by the way, started seeing like, hey, wow, there's so much innovation in these markets. Second, I think we need to have a better way of finding unique talent from around the world. I think many of you could speak to this, where, especially if you're an institution where you're spending thousands of dollars trying to recruit talent, sometimes it's not the right talent. I don't know if you guys know, on average, companies spend thousands, if not millions of dollars a year on ad spend just to find talent to build and scale their companies. And we all know you're as big as the employees that you serve on your company. Spending thousands and not looking at, how do we actually attract talent in unique ways? And I remember back in when I coded the first website in 2015, I think many of you guys know the story. I was pregnant at the time, learned how to code from scratch. Didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was actually, funny enough, I was actually going to meetups. I was not only the only female going to these hacking groups, but also pregnant and all, with my belly out to here. My code broke. Who wants to help me? Right? Just learning the art of coding organically and falling in love with it, because it's really just problem solving, right? And building the first site. And I remember when I built the first site and the first app for GSC, and so I was targeting, just training individuals in the Caribbean. And I remember I just posted on social media, and we started just getting applications. And next thing I know, fast forward to today, where we have 250,000 people in our database that literally is accelerated every single year in partnership with major crazy brands from around the world. I never would have thought that's what I was creating back then when I first created the site. But obviously I was so pissed off and say like, look, let me just build this and put it out there. And here I am today, right? And so I would say that, to that point of how to build and scale, I think it's really important that we just go back to why people become entrepreneurs. You're trying to shake something up. You're trying to say you see something that is wrong in this world, and you're like, I think this is the way that we can radically change this, right? And that's the journey of an entrepreneur. And which leads to another question that I thought was really unique, because when we announced the capital raise, someone asked me, am I sure that I want to go public with this process? Because a lot of people said that these are the top comments. Some people say, we don't really understand crowd equity. Do you think it's too early to use a platform like this? Second, do you really know if this is a great course of action? Let me put it this way. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I don't care if you see me at my best or at my worst. Let me run that again. I am completely comfortable, right? And I might be crazy for that, but I'm completely comfortable with people seeing me at my best, right? And at my worst. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I think you cannot be an entrepreneur and say that you are shy about, trying to do a capital raise in private. I don't believe in that. I'm trying to capital raise from a crowd community of community that I built from scratch over the past couple of years and saying like, hey, you've been using this platform over the past couple of years. We're on a scaling trajectory right now. Invest into this trajectory and jump in now while you can, and believe in us. And more importantly, believe in me as the founder and CEO of this company to do that. Yeah, I'm going to go for it. Right. And I'm going to put all my heart and energy into that. And people know me personally, and I put my heart and soul into the things that I care about. Right. And luckily, I've hired people or my team that believes in it and invested in it already with their time and their commitment and their career trajectory. Why not my community that was also leveraged the platform over the past couple of years. Right. And so, to that question, am I nervous? Hell yeah, I'm nervous. Right. But that's part of the journey. You just never know what's going to happen. And I'm just completely excited. And if anything, because our product is just so unique. We've been building such a unique platform over the past couple of years. So I'm just looking forward to it. I'm actually going to have a private session for anyone who signed up to be an investor on Monday next week. So I'm excited about that. But I'm also going to have a live discussion walking people through why GSC is going through its first seed round and why we're doing this capital raise and opening it up to our community and to the public to get into GSC right now for the first time next week. So stay tuned to it. I know my team's going to post links as to how to get access to that information, but I'll have a full segment on that. This Q&A is obviously for me to add as much value as I can to answering your questions. So hopefully that makes sense. And again, if you guys have any live questions to ask me, I'm right here. Definitely ask them, just running through these questions as I see them. Another question that someone asked me, do I have any updates on any type of books that I'm reading right now? And I'm like, I don't know why people always ask me what people are reading. I'm not gonna lie, I've actually haven't been reading as many books as I should have over the past couple months. I don't know, it's because being on maternity leave, I've been focused on breastfeeding, balancing, being a mommy again and doing all these different type of things. But in terms of books that prior to the past couple of weeks that I've been hooked on, and the ones that I'm definitely going for, I definitely want to really take some time to read Michelle Obama's book, Becoming. Heard way too many great feedback points on it. I definitely want to jump on board on reading that. I'm really excited about hearing more details, especially as a married woman who have learned so much in terms of her power plays of trying to build her career, build a brand, but also be the wife to such an amazing icon, which is Barack Obama, and having the beautiful two children that they have, and building and scaling as a unit, a family unit over time, I think is really inspiring. So I want to hear her story. So definitely want to read the book Becoming. Second, funny enough, I'm not crazy, but I actually do want to read 48 Laws of Power. I know I read it briefly back in high school, but I really want to just dive right into it a little bit more because I'm seeing so many different things. I don't know if you guys feel it too. The world is just getting so sinister. I don't know if you guys feel it, but the world is really getting really sinister. And I feel like, I don't know. I just don't like the way it's heading. And I feel like I need to understand what the hell is going on. And I'm seeing, I don't know if you guys are seeing, there's so much going on YouTube where people are just posting videos about fraudulent things that are happening. People who are just like, going to front, so many things that's happening in the world right now. And I just want to just read a book that talks about, individuals just understanding people's psychology, people's motivations, and understand why these are shifting the way it is. And the last thing I want to read is The Great Short. I think everyone is talking about the financial inflation. Everyone's talking about inflation right now. We're definitely going to hit maybe another recession, maybe another windfall when it comes to economic trajectory right now. So I want to read The Big Short and just see if that brings up any vibes about information that I need to be aware of. So those are some top books. But aside from books, in terms of what I'm reading about right now, I'm reading a lot about exponential technologies. Obviously, you guys know I'm a big proponent about learning as much as possible about artificial intelligence, nanotech, space tech, VR, blockchain, not just so you know the theoretical parameters around these technologies, but for you to also understand how this is going to impact your everyday. So I've definitely been really looking at Singularity Hub, learning those different skill sets, and also trying to apply to as many skill sets courses as possible. I am a big proponent of learning as many skill sets as possible. So I've been definitely on real perk crazy, just learning as much as possible on skill sets. So definitely recommend trying to really learn as much as possible in this time. So that's some of the top things I'm doing right now. So with that said, I'm actually going to give a 1-minute break of music, all right, where I'm going to just, give you guys 60 seconds to think of some top level questions that you guys want to ask. And I'm going to come right back to answer those questions for the second half of the show, and we'll take it from there. So looking forward to hearing some of these lovely questions. Just send them on the chat feed. I'm going to come right back live. All right, I'm back. So now I'm going to transition. I'm going to do something a little bit different this time because I love doing these Ask Me Anything sessions. But one thing someone asked me, can I do training sessions during my Ask Me Anything sessions? And I'm like, okay. Like, I thought you guys will just ask me tons of questions. So I'm going to test it out this week. Okay. So again, the question was, can you do mini training sessions during your Ask Me Anything sessions? And so I'm going to do 10 minutes of a quick mini personal branding session. Sounds good, right? And I'm doing this because, again, I think that this was probably really a unique feedback point. I'll see how you guys react to it next week. If you like it, I'll do that where I'll reserve some time where for the hour that I do Ask Me Anything sessions, I'll probably do like 45 minutes of the Q&A and probably 10 to 15 minutes of a mini training session. So that way you guys could every single week feel like you're learning something in terms of content along the ride. So personal branding. So there's 3 things I want to talk about, right? When it comes to building a personal brand, especially in this digital space that we're living in. I think this is something people notoriously know me for, and people ask me all the time, how was I able to build my personal brand? How was I able to monetize it? How was I able to scale it? Let's take one step at a time. So I'm going to talk about it this time, building a personal brand. Maybe next time I'll talk about monetization and then scaling. But let's talk about building. The first thing I said that I was talking to someone about this, like I look at, first off, you got to look at brands that you already value and look at what was their strategy to have that brand reputation that you value today, right? So I probably would think about, the Googles, the Facebooks, maybe cars that you value, like Land Rovers, like what brands do you look at today and what reputation do you have and why do you value it? Clearly they created reputational value for you want to engage with those products. It's the same thing when it comes to people, right? As an individual, you are also a package. You are a vessel of value that goes beyond your personality, but in terms of value that people can attract and leverage. And when you're trying to build a personal brand, you're trying to package that value of who you are as a person that you're giving to the world. So when you think about that, okay, so let's say Google, the value of Google as an entity brand, right? It's productivity tools, is digital marketing solutions, right? Those are probably 2 immediate things you think of. You as an individual, what is your package value brand? Maybe you are good at fundamental teaching, right? Maybe you're good at, maybe digital marketing skills as well as an individual. Maybe you're good at galvanizing people, right? What is your skill set and how do you package that, right? And so when you package that value set, then you're able to articulate that to people. And it goes into the second part is when you create a value package, right? And you create a value package by writing, what is the three things, I'm writing this down, right? What are the three things that people value you for? Right? And write that down. Once you write that down, now it's a matter of, okay, now how do you reinforce that value to the public? Because personal branding, I always tell people, you have the reputation whether you want to or not. It's called your reputation, right? So personal branding is built for you whether you are proactive or not. You just need to be more proactive about it. So once you create that value package of those three items, now you're transitioning to be very purposeful with the public about pretty much marketing and promoting that. Sometimes someone asks me, like, McDonald's does not need to do a marketing campaign. Yes, it does, because McDonald's is constantly trying to reinforce to you what its value is: speed, efficiency, low cost in terms of food, right? It's constantly trying to remind you. So in your subconscious, anytime you're hungry and you're trying to find a solution for those three pain points, where can I find something that's cheap, accessible, and fast, you're thinking McDonald's maybe over KFC. It's the same thing with you. Even though people might know you for those three value propositions that we just discussed, that doesn't mean that they're going to know you as top of mind for them to go to. That's the reason why people create content. And a lot of times people get really stubborn. It's like, oh, I don't want to have to create content. I don't want to, be superficial and create. No, you're not doing that because you're being superficial. You're creating content so that way you're always on top of mind regarding that value set. So for example, I'm constantly putting, clearly, in terms of the Ask Me Anything sessions, constantly giving feedback and tips and information around productivity, technology, entrepreneurship, monetization, scaling, personal branding, right? So because I'm constantly putting that content out there through my courses, through my speaking engagements, through my conversations, through my Ask Me Anything sessions, when people are thinking about, I need someone for X, right? They're thinking of me for those speaking engagements. They're thinking of me, when it comes to sourcing that course material. I'm the person that comes top of mind because that content has been on this viral loop cycle of information on social media. And that's where this is, part two to that is distribution channels. I think a lot of people don't leverage social media as a distribution channel. You could distribute your value and telling people what you do best through social media, through email marketing, through text messaging, through conversations, through events, these are called distribution channels for you to express what you do best, right? I'm gonna repeat that again. These are distribution channels for you to express what you do best, right? And so when you look at it that way, you don't get mad about Facebook not having a conversion mechanism. You look at it as this is a free platform that you could share with people on a detailed way what you are able to provide in terms of value packaging. So that's the second thing, right? Really thinking through, the distribution, right? And creating content, right? So once you create content and you distribute it, the last thing I would say, the third component is amplifying, right? And I think this is where I feel like a lot of people feel like, building a personal brand is like a chore, right? Because, you almost feel like you have to operate it 24/7, but that's where you get these tools. And a lot of people know I have a lot of productivity tools, but some of the top productivity tools I use to optimize myself is like having a CRM, an email marketing CRM to automate your messaging out to the public. Having automation tools like Buffer or Hootsuite to automate your messages, your content creation, using tools like Canva to create content. Guys, I'm spinning fire to you right now. I'm spinning like all these different tools like this every day, but it's how, for me, I can give you 100 tools, but if you don't understand how they all play into this ecosystem platform of you building your reputation in the public, in the digital space, it doesn't matter, right? So what I'm trying to say is there are different ways to leverage tools to optimize and amplify your brand in many circles around the world. And because, again, we live in a digital world, it's really, really good. I just got a comment from Paul Cannon. So not all content is equal. We need to think about whether the content is brand positive, negative, or neutral. Love the comment, Paul. And yes, you are correct. Not all content is equal. And when it comes to content, by the way, I think people overwhelm themselves in terms of like what type of content they should create. First off, there's intentional content that you create. There's also, I will say, authentic content. Guys, I am going at a whim right now. I am literally on fire. This is what you call authentic content, right? Where I'm literally, I know like there are questions that people send, but I'm doing live questions. This is just authentic from my head to you content that I'm creating, that, by the way, is being live streamed as we speak, is being automatically recorded on YouTube so you could go back to it later and be able to engage. That's content that's being created from scratch, right? But if I, create, purposeful content where I'm actually sitting down thinking of a course curriculum and I'm recording that on Zoom and then I send that out to a consumer base, that's video content right there. Content could also be my posts. I know every day I usually write some quick tips or a quick feedback post on my LinkedIn, especially. That's also content creation value. Other content could be like my speaking engagements, my talks, right? I have talks on career strategy and all these different hacking tools and hacking strategies for life that are 15 minutes to as much as a 1 hour workshop. That's content creation. Other content creation can be articles. You got to pick the medium that fits best. I know there's a big dialogue about doing it all. Listen, start with what makes it easier for you and then build from there. Because I think like if you overwhelm yourself, you're never going to be proactive about building a personal brand that matters to you and one that actually resonates with the audience that you serve. So with that said, to summarize, when it comes to building a personal brand from scratch, you need to first of all look at companies that you admire and see how they package their value, and then ask yourself, what is the 3 things that you know that you provide of value to your community that you do better than anyone else, and write that down, package that out, and then that leads to 2, reinforcing that brand value package, that personal brand package to the public through content creation, right? And that content creation, again, is through mediums like this, live sessions, video content, writing. But the point is, know how to distribute that content through social media, email marketing, text messaging, speaking engagements, and finally leveraging tools. Third, which is leveraging tools to amplify your reach and amplify your voice. So that's, a quick tip that I'll give right there and there in terms of like, how to really amplify your voice when it comes to building a personal brand. I think some of the top questions that I get when it comes to like, how do you actually go through that process? This is where execution comes in, because I just shared with you a 3-step process of building your personal brand from scratch. How are you going to execute it? Because I could tell you the process. What you as an individual need to learn is, how do I actually create an execution strategy to actually commit to what I'm trying to do? So sometimes when I do these sessions with my constituents, I usually say like, look, I told you the strategy and tools. Now let's talk about execution. Execution will usually has a time frame. It usually has a process. So I'll say, okay, in the next 30 days, what do you need to do to execute on building a personal brand from scratch to overhaul how people view your personal brand value, right? So I'll say, in the next 30 days, let's say we start July 1st, which is the second half of the year. I first start by asking you, what's your personality? Are you a binge person, right? Or are you someone who likes to do things systematically? Because for some people, doing something once a week every Tuesday is a lot easier for them than someone else would say like, no, I need the first week to binge, create all my content, create all my information, and then spread it out over time. You need to figure out who you are as an individual and what's your preference when it comes to execution, and then do that. Just because someone else said this is the right way to execute on stuff doesn't mean that's the best way it is for you, right? So that will be what I would say, like, what is your execution strategy to be able to do that, and the time frame, right? 30 days, is it systematically every week, or is it on a binge? And then the final thing I would say when it comes to personal branding strategy is, what is going to be your one platform of experimentation? And what I mean by that is, we all need a platform that we feel most comfortable to keep tweaking over time to be able to showcase that personal brand. So for me, clearly is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is one of my favorite medium channels for me to be able to, host sessions, train, give feedback and talk, post, stuff like that. Though I'm on all social media channels like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and the like, but Instagram is my go-to platform that I use to keep optimizing my value set to my community. So it's very important that you're aware of what you have in selecting that. And not only now that's the distribution channel. The last thing I would say is picking your medium of strength of value. Is it writing things down? Is it video? For me, I like to do videos over writing. Even though I'm really good writing, I'm really good at copywriting. Obviously, I'm a marketer, so I'm really good at copywriting. But I come alive on video. I love doing video content a lot. And so these are things that you need to really think about when it comes to building your personal brand. And then you can start thinking about the monetization. And probably next week, Friday, or probably the following Friday, I'll talk about top ways to monetize your personal brand. But these are things to really think of when it comes to processing the best way to do that. Now, with that said, over the past 45 minutes, I've answered about, 30 minutes of questions and did, 15 minutes, just going over, personal branding strategy. I'll end this Q&A, Ask Me Anything session by saying, like, look, I think it's important that we have three things. One, that we talk about entrepreneurship and the stages of entrepreneurship from a more vulnerable place. I think the questions I got this week, I think was very, very telling about, I think like what we're doing to the state of entrepreneurship is really foul. I think the parameters of success that we're chasing now is not the same. I think there was a time where entrepreneurs really just love the journey of entrepreneurship, what it does to the individual as an entrepreneur, and what it does to the communities that they serve. Nowadays, I was talking to someone the other day. Said she just crossed 31 years old and had a breakdown because she didn't make the Forbes 30 under 30 list. And I'm like, and she said, yeah, I could talk because I'm on the list. Yeah, I get that. But that wasn't my aspiration. My aspiration was really, I was tackling something that mattered to me. And yes, the accolades come, but I do think we are living in a generation where entrepreneurs are more incentivized by the clout generation than by actually building something that you'll be proud to even showcase to your kids, man. I don't know what's happening. I don't know if it's because we are living in clout culture, and I understand, we're human beings. We all want to showcase our best self to our families, our friends, and our peers. Like, who wouldn't want? I mean, like, that's amazing. I think that's something that we should all go for. But when it gets to the point where it creates a toxic relationship with career choices of why you want to be an entrepreneur, I think that's a state of mental depression that we're gonna enter, that will be very catastrophic for our generation if we don't figure out better ways of incentivizing this generation as to why they need to be entrepreneurs. And that leads to my frustration too of what I'm seeing with YouTube, where I'm seeing so many young people with these scam, and I don't mean to say a scam, but it is, who are literally lying on YouTube and saying, oh, I built this multi-million-dollar business. They have like this crazy Ferrari in the background to showcase how good they are. Listen, if you really was making this lifestyle, you wouldn't be looking like a hustle, try to get people to download something that's not real, right? So I really think that the first thing I would say is, I think we need to have a real conversation with generation about the art of entrepreneurship and the joys and the journey. When I see how far I've come since the first time I decided to start a business to today, I wouldn't change that for the world. I wouldn't change that for the world. I see how creative I am, and I appreciate that. And so I definitely, I think we need to have a real conversation about the state of entrepreneurship in this generation and what we're doing to our young people when it comes to building businesses that matter. The second thing I saw, in terms of the series of questions, there's a lot of questions around balance and fear. And I see where my community was coming from, because obviously a lot of announcements came back. One person even, I'll say it, asked me, am I afraid to say that I just came off maternity leave and launching a seed round for my business? Oof. I'm actually surprised someone asked me that. And I'm actually glad they did, because they showed me wow, I know I'm fearless, but I'm also not naive. I know that there is a set of people out there that might be thinking you just had a baby. Are you really ready to do this right now? Are you serious? And I'm not saying this from a diversity or inclusive. I honestly don't even care to say that. I'm saying this from dude, I'm the shit because I'm a mother of three, man. Like, you tried to be productive with 3 kids and running a business that's scaling, married and having friends and having a good old time living your life as well. You can't compete with me, right? And that's how I see it. But it's funny that, you know, you can only see things through your own your own perspective and your own purview. And I don't blame the person for that. But this balance between fear and execution, listen, again, it goes back to my point one. You got to be fearless about things that matter to you, because if you're not, you're only going to live a life of regret, right? And I realized that I think it's important that, and there's a lot of things I say it's important, but I just think, like, just live your life the best way that you know how to, because a lot of times when we cross milestones in our life, right, you are able to look back and like, yeah, I thought that was hard. This is a whole nother thing entirely. And the last thing I will say is I'm looking forward to this chapter in my entrepreneurial journey, because I'm going to find my tribe, right? I know someone's hitting me up right now. Sorry about that. But yeah, like, I'm going to be able to find my tribe, right? I'm going to be able to ascertain who's for me and who's not, right? And I'm actually really excited about that. This is actually, wait, hold on. Let me actually see who this is, right? So I'm going to be able to find my tribe. And in this world where I think there's so much foolery around people playing the part, you want to find the people who are for you 1,000%, because we live in a very interconnected world where things are getting harder in many ways, but things are getting easier. Black and white. Are you for me? Are you with me? Are you with me for this ride? So I'm looking forward to that. And so those are the last 3 things I'll part with you guys, because, like, I am so looking forward to this chapter. I'm so looking forward to this opportunity. And I'm very, whoever this is persistent. I'm very, very much grateful for this opportunity. Right. I'm really grateful. I'm really excited. And you know, again, I'm going to have in that session, and I'll probably walk you guys through the journey. How about that? Maybe I'll walk you through the highs and lows. Maybe I'll have a week when I'm just like down and under, but I'm definitely way more excited than I'm nervous. And so with that said, I'm going to see you guys next week, same time, same place, live on social media to answer your questions. And of course, experiment with doing these mini training sessions, and hopefully you find it valuable. But we'll see where this goes, obviously. So with that said, thank you so much, guys, for joining me for another Ask Me Anything session. I can't wait to be in touch with you guys for next week, and have an amazing, 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 amazing weekend. See you guys next week. Bye, guys.